which is on Facebook Live, I think they call it, as well as YouTube. And what's awesome is that the mothership in Tokyo has promoted this thing around the world tonight. So folks from over 140 countries may be watching this. So it's pretty awesome to be a part of this. And so we are checking out to see if our stream is working. Want to encourage you, there is a bar in the back. If you want to order your drink directly, you also have that magical QR code, which I thought would be like a fax machine, but it's not. It's better. So on that QR code, you can order food, you can order drinks, and you get it brought right to your table. Do I need to keep talking, Lauren, or we test it out? I think we're doing great. We're glad the world's out there if you're watching, streaming online, on YouTube Live. And Lauren, how are we doing over there? Are we good? Do I need to keep talking, or are we set? So, yes. No sound in the feed. All right, we have no sound in the feed, Lauren, so. Oh, it's on. All right. Maybe the sound's in the future, Lila. Huh? So how about this poster right here? By the way, Marcus Archer's here tonight, so he did this poster right here. And I think a lot of us feel like that, right? Flare to the world, we are coming out, so it's a pretty exciting time. And I'm just going to keep talking because we're trying to figure out the volume on the feed to the rest of the world is working. So, but I would encourage you, order a beverage, a taco. I had the lamb empanadas last night. They're really, really good. What else was good? There was another thing that was fantastic. I can't remember what it was, but I think we were getting close to starting. Lila, can I stop talking yet? Our feed is good. All right, so we will be starting at 7:20. Enjoy your time. We'll have some music, and we'll be back soon. Thank you. Good evening. How's everybody doing tonight? I feel like we need a collective deep breath. It's so good to be back in this room together with Knoxville. So thank you all for coming out tonight, and thank you for the group that is watching the stream, whether on Facebook Live or YouTube Live. We're glad you're here. Welcome to Knoxville, and welcome to PKN Knoxville Volume 39, which is a great thing. So we were actually last together in this room 15 months ago. So it's pretty awesome to be back together in this room, even in this limited way. It's good to be here. So I want to tell you a little bit about PKN. So architects Astrid Klein and Mark Dytham of Tokyo's Klein Dytham Architecture invented PKN in 2003. And since that time, from Tokyo, Japan, it's gone to 140 countries, 1,200 cities. We've curated over 10,000 events with over 130,000 presenters telling their story. And that's what we're doing here tonight. So we are part of something that is much larger than ourselves, and it's great to be here. We have some thank yous. And that's what we are a gracious place to be. So the first one, I want to thank this, look at this poster right here, created by Marcus Archer of Archer Creative Group. Marcus, thank you so much for putting your time and energy into this. So we are grateful for that. We are grateful to the Mill and Mine, who has lended us this room, which is a fantastic thing. They give us this cultural space in which to meet and share ideas. So the Mill and Mine, thank you very much. We also have thank yous tonight to Lock and Key Productions. Lock and Key is helping us stream this thing to the rest of the world, which is pretty awesome. The mothership in Tokyo basically told the rest of the world we are presenting right now live, and so hopefully there's folks watching all over the world, as well as South, North, West, and East Knoxville tonight. So we are grateful for that, and that's why this camera is here. So thank you, Lock and Key. And then I want to thank our curators, of which we are a rotating group, but there are 8 of us, myself including Lauren Fife, Mary Pyle, Lorena Martin, Shane Murphy, Lila Honecker, Nikki Elliott, and then I especially want to thank Matt Jordan, who puts up with us, who don't necessarily know how to create this technical stuff, but he receives all the presentations, puts it into a format to share with the rest of the world. So Matt Jordan, thank you very much. All right, a couple things tonight. So this thing right here is, I've learned, I thought this was a fax machine because I thought it would be irrelevant soon, but it's not. It's more relevant than ever. It's a QR code. So this particular QR code is, if you want to learn about how to present at PKN or when our next event will be, you can grab that thing. And then on your table, you have 2 things. One is if you want to make a donation tonight to our efforts here with PKN, as well as 50% of that will go to the Mill and Mine staff, their service staff tonight. So if that's something you want to do, there's a placard for that. But then also you can order food and drinks from the Mill and Mine and from Taco. So if that's something you want to do, and I've been told it's a very efficient way to do it. The bar's back there if you want to go to the bar, but if you want to order directly with the QR code, you can. Let's see, that's what I'll have for that. Oh, I want to remind you, if you have a cell phone, which you probably do, put it on silent. If you want to have a conversation, there is a wonderful courtyard out there in which to do that. But we will have 8 presenters tonight. So we'll have 4 presenters, then we'll have an intermission for 15 minutes, and then we'll have 4 more presenters. You can see their names listed there. And we are really excited about this bunch. And I've got a bunch of text messages, but it looks like we are live and ready to go. Thumbs up. All right, so I want to welcome our first presenter, Trey McMillan. Thank you very much.
Hey y'all, my name's Trey. We're going to get right into it. So, we're going to talk about parking. And parking is kind of this ubiquitous thing in the city. It's kind of everywhere. It fades into the background. You probably parked somewhere on your way here tonight. It was probably pretty close. You probably didn't have to look a long time for it. It's just one of those things that's there and we kind of take for granted. But it hasn't always been that way. Parking, as we know it today, has only been around for about 100 years because that's about how long the car has been widely available to the public. Before that, people just kind of pulled up to the side of wherever they were trying to go. They hopped out of their car. It was up to somebody else to figure out how to get around them. And cities pretty quickly realized that that wasn't a great way to go about parking. They needed guidelines, they needed parking lots, spaces, whatever. So this is Knoxville in 1935 and 2014. And for whatever reason, as buildings were being demolished, they were often replaced with surface lots or parking decks. And there's a lot of them in Knoxville. Knoxville's got about almost 6,000 acres of parking. This is what it would look like if it was all compiled into one big parking lot. It's actually more parking in Knoxville than there is parks. It's about 8% of the total land area of the city. And some of it's been around forever. This is on Clinch right across from the French Market. Still a parking lot today, and this is what it looks like. You can see the Holston being built in the background. And it often has to do with parking minimums that cities require. They don't very often require maximum max cap-off parking. Knoxville does now, but parking is also a kind of an inefficient use of space. And the space that you could fit a reasonably sized 2-bedroom apartment, you can only fit 2 parking spots. And it's also single use, so regardless of if there's a car there or not, it's only a parking spot. So this is Knoxville in 2018 when Gay Street was closed to cars for repairs. And it kind of asked the questions, what does a city look like if we stop focusing so much on the automobile traffic and parking and kind of focus on human-to-human interactions? And so this is San Francisco in 2005. A guy by the name of John Bella and a few of his friends said, what if we put something in a parking spot that wasn't a car? And so they rolled out some grass, they put up a tree, they put out a bench, and sure enough, people showed up and just sat around and ate lunch and read the newspaper or whatever. And they said that wouldn't have happened if there was a car there. And so they posted on their blog like you do in 2005, and people reached out and said, could you do this in our city? And they said, no, we're 3 guys, we can't do that all over the world, but we'll tell you how we did it, and you can go do it yourselves. We'll make it open source. And what's interesting about that idea, and is the catalyst of the beginning of Parking Day, is that it's really gained mainstream appeal in the past year or so due to the pandemic, where businesses have been asked if they can move people outside and really take over some of the space that's previously being used by cars or being underutilized. Both of these images were from New York last summer. Knoxville has a special use permit for basically the same thing right now, and specifically says that businesses should think creatively about how they use parking. If they can repurpose it for business interactions, then do so. This is in Baltimore, and some cities have really taken to heart this idea of, can we repurpose these underutilized areas in a new way and really make this a long-term effort to change the way that we think about how we use the side of the road. And this isn't to say to get rid of parking entirely. Obviously, people need places to park and to get to places efficiently. But it's a matter of distribution and where is there too much parking and where is there not enough? And most of the places there's too much. So Parking Day is essentially a specific day where people come out, take over the use of a parking spot or 2, and create sort of an installation or a parklet. In Knoxville, we've done it officially since 2018, where we had almost 50 organizations come out and take over the spots along Gay Street to put up installations or rethink how we use these parking spots along the side of the road. So we started in 2018. We had similar turnout in 2019. In 2020, we did a virtual event where we had a 3D scan of Gay Street and downtown Knoxville done and asked businesses and designers and other organizations, what would you have done in a parking spot if we were to have had a in-person event? And we got really interesting results, kind of blue sky ideas of what the streetscape could look like if anything was possible in these parking spots. And then compiled them into a sort of a Google Street View type of tour where you could walk down the street and see what these exhibits would have looked like. This one is from DIA and the Knoxville Happiness Coalition. They really looked at how did the pandemic influence how people were interacting with each other? How does parking and the street affect how people interact with each other? And then what does the intersection of those things look like? The city of Knoxville every year has donated all of the spots on Gay Street for us to use for this event. So it's totally free to sign up. It's free to participate and come out and check out. These other organizations have been great in terms of helping us plan and organize and really getting us the resources we need to carry this out. And we're planning on having an in-person event again this year on September 17th on Gay Street. If you're interested in participating, you can come talk to me tonight or reach out on social media or email. And if you think this is interesting and want to be a part of the team that organizes it, you can do the same thing. And we look forward to seeing you there.
Good evening. I am Tanika Harper, a Knoxvillian born and raised. I'm the mother to one daughter who is the love of my life and my why. I am also the owner of 4 small businesses, and my life's mission is to help develop people so we all can be better equipped at developing our communities. I'm a graduate of Austin East High School, home of the Mighty Roadrunners, the school where people say nothing good comes out of AE. However, I hold 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree. I, along with countless others, exemplify the greatness that walks the hall of AE. One of my business endeavors is a nonprofit, Shora Foundation, founded in 2008. Shora has 2 programs, the Academic Center and the Roots Collective in East Knoxville. The Academic Center serves 50 youth, and the initiatives are academic achievement, mental health, food security, and social justice. Our second and newest program, the Roots Collective, provides economic development to Black entrepreneurs in East Tennessee. We provide resources that helps business owners grow or expand, and we provide mentorship opportunities and access to capital through educational, social, and financial means. Shora is intentional about every webinar, every class, every staff hire, and every resource. Why? Because Black Knoxville is poor. 42% of Black Knoxville lives in poverty, while only making up 17% of the population. Almost half of your Black neighbors can't put food on their table. Where there's high poverty, you'll find lack of access to resources. Our city's Black youth are suffering. No vocational opportunities, no apprenticeship opportunities. That leads to a need to survive, which ultimately leads to crime. Where there's high poverty, you'll also find a lack of resources for business development. There are very limited business development opportunities in predominantly Black communities. This is not only true for Knoxville, but all of East Tennessee. The wealth gap is far too wide. We have to do something now. Black Knoxville also lacks amenities like grocery stores, clothing stores, workout gyms, and healthy food options. East Knoxville is a food desert, which is why we are fighting for the development of Black communities, not for them to be gentrified, but for them to be invested in. So you can imagine there's a sense of hopelessness. There's no resources, there's no help, there's a feeling of abandonment. The oppressed are somehow expected to fix oppression in the systems that created it. How does that even work? Through all the poverty, the hopelessness, neighborhood crime, and the lack of care and concern from the outside, organizations like Shora have stepped up. We're playing our part by investing our time and resources into those who need it most. Our solution has been to create programs centered around youth development and entrepreneurs. The youth are our future, and small businesses make communities thrive. And research shows that Black people are starting businesses at a much faster rate than any group. The Roots Collective Growth and Development Center will provide resources to primarily Black entrepreneurs in East Knoxville. While all will be welcome, our target is to help Black small businesses grow or start their company. The space will also alleviate the overhead burden through its shared co-working space. Here, I'm kicking off our capital campaign and explaining to stakeholders why they should invest their financial dollars into our $1.5 million fundraising goal. These raised funds will help us develop the Growth and Development Center. We have a lot of great partners, and we are excited about the future. There are about 2 million Black-owned businesses in the United States. Approximately 55% of them are owned by Black men, and we are investing in them. In the words of one of them, he said to me, "You inspire me in ways I never thought I could be, and I feel like I'm in a position to think on my own." Black women receive less than 1% of venture capital funds each year. Black women are not even in the room, let alone at the table, to be able to get others to invest in them. We remove the barriers at Shora Foundation and make access to social and financial capital much easier. The Roots Collective Growth and Development Center will help entrepreneurs thrive within their own community, where it's not intimidating, and a place where they're less likely to feel like an imposter. It will be a safe place to gather, learn, network, and build new relationships with like-minded people. The Development Center will provide a co-working space that will help alleviate the burden of overhead costs. We will provide shared spaces or private offices. It will be a community culture that lend itself to partnerships and collaboration. I get chills just thinking about all the opportunities. We will provide studios that will include an art studio. Currently in East Knoxville, there's no place to create. Makers are often working out of their home or garages, and most spaces that are available are not listed at affordable rates for a startup entrepreneur. We are super excited about offering a digital space. In a world where everything is live streamed, digital classes, a podcast, or even the need for a green screen, we want to meet entrepreneurs where they are and meet their needs. Whatever they need to grow their brand, we want to bridge that gets them there. Again, our plan is to chip away at the 42% poverty rate, and you can help us by visiting Shora Foundation, rootscollective.org, and we are proud to say that we are currently serving and engaging over 145 Black entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. How are we doing tonight? Good. I'm happy for you. I'm really nervous. All right. But hey, nonetheless, I'm happy to be here tonight. My name is Talisa Cantrell. I'm the founder and owner of Scruffy's Cafe, which is Knoxville's very first and only cat cafe. We opened in June 2020 because everybody knows the best time to start your first business is during a global pandemic, right? Yep. That was me. All right. So. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way right now. Yes, I am a crazy cat lady. I have been for 20 years when my first cat wandered into my backyard, and over the years, very many more cats have wandered into my backyard, and my dad never really said no, so the rest becomes history. Cat puns? Do I have the right audience? Thank you. All right, so let's really unpack this history, though. What the heck is a cat cafe anyway? Now, a cat cafe is a coffee house that takes care of rescue cats and serves tea or coffee to patrons. The first cat cafe opened in Taiwan in 1998 and made its way into America by 2013. Now, I'm not telling you my age, but I will tell you, yes, I'm older than cat cafes. Denver Cat Company was among the first cat cafes to make it to America, and I made my way there myself in January 2020. Jet lag, maybe not enough caffeine, I'm not sure which, but I had this thought, hey, you know what? Knoxville deserves something like this. I was convinced maybe it was a Colorado altitude making me a little bit loopy. But turns out it wasn't the Colorado altitude making me nuts. I actually really wanted to build a cat cafe. And upon my return home in mid-January 2020, I began planning Knoxville's first and only cat cafe in a very beat-up composition notebook. Now, very humble beginnings, and Scruffy's is proof that you cannot judge a book by its cover, you guys. You absolutely cannot. So one of my biggest decisions to date was a logo. I knew I wanted to name it Scruffy's, but the logo is just as important as the name. And that's when Midna, my little one-eyed, scraggly whiskered little baby, quite literally jumped in the middle of my business plans and became my logo. So by February 2020, Scruffy's had a story, it had a mission, and I was ready to share it with the world. Now listen, folks, I am slap happy when my Facebook status gets more than 5 likes. So you can imagine my surprise when Scruffy's went viral overnight. I remember kind of staring at my screen with this like really goofy grin, and then it just kind of set in like, oh, I'm really, really doing this then. I should probably have gotten a property first. Oh man, And honestly, you guys, I didn't think we'd ever find a home for Scruffy's. I'd meet with commercial landlords, we'd really hit it off, and I would do so much as whisper, like, I'm thinking about opening a pet cafe, and I swear every window and door to that opportunity would close. So I collected a basket of no's, and finally, Scruffy's finally found his home at 1015 North Broadway. So, I probably forgot to mention that we plan to open in, you guessed it, March 2020. I convinced all the powers to be to actually let me build a cat cafe in Knoxville. We found a place to call our home. Our crowdsource went viral. I mean, people were talking about camping outside my cat cafe the night before we opened. I was feeling pretty unbeatable. Now, this shouldn't be a spoiler alert for anybody, but March 2020 was also when a global pandemic happened. Ugh. Now, I'm a very unseasoned businesswoman, but I knew Knoxville was still need a happy and a safe place. The easy choice was to take the pandemic seriously, so in return, I could take in consideration every person's health and wellness. Scruffy's would be a place of love and light no matter what. So I adjusted my sails, announced a cat cafe was coming, but with very strict health precautions, as I'm sure every good business person did, and put every ounce of faith into believing that Scruffy's is set course open by summer 2020. Knoxville support kept me going every single day, and finally, it happened. By June 2020, Knoxville had its very own cat cafe. Scruffy's was alive. Scruffy's became a place that could breathe love and light into anyone who walked through its doors. This was a place where people could feel safe, they could feel loved, they could be appreciated for who they are. I knew Knoxville needed a safe place, so I created exactly that for my community. Now, it didn't take long at all for our very first adoption to happen. It went from 1 to 2 to 20 to 50 seemingly overnight, and I felt I had overwhelmed a lot of rescue connections and resources, and I wanted something that worked, something that flowed, something that could be there for me on my craziest, busiest, most hectic days. And that's when I met some of the kindest, most genuine people I know at the Humane Society of the Tennessee Valley in July 2020, and I partnered with them immediately. I snatched that up. We've really given it all to touch as many feline and human lives together, and every single day I consider just how many bridges between homes we've built in the community, and I'm just so grateful for it. And to date, we've adopted out over 210 cats. Just some math for you people in the audience that are math enthusiasts. I know there's a few of you. That's over 210 spaces made available at nearby shelters. That's 210 cats pulled from risky, abusive situations and to be put in adoptive programs. That's 210 family lives made whole and touched by the magic of adoption and rescue. Now, we mentioned that I'm a crazy cat lady, but I figure I should factor in I'm a little bit more than that, okay? I'm also a mental health advocate and an entrepreneur. I bring that up because I am someone who becomes stronger in her identity whenever I'm helping other people build up their identities. So I began seeking partnerships with more entrepreneurs. And so that's what I did. I used Scruffy's to build up other entrepreneurs in between marketplaces, yoga nights, pottery nights, painting classes, sewing workshops, and just so much more. I've been able to build up and encourage over 40 other entrepreneurs in my humble little space. 40. That's a lot of friends, and I'm always looking for more, okay? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But somehow I still wanted to do more. I wanted to create change in safe places beyond Scruffy's Cafe's own walls. That's when I began envisioning our mental health awareness platform, What Rescues You. It started off as an apparel brand, so when you're wearing our creations, the thought is that you're letting other people know you're a safe space. You're quite literally offering to be a strong tower to those who are in need. But I wanted to take What Rescues You even further, and so I curated it into messages of love, wellness, and positivity that will find you on your newsfeed every single night without delay. And I'm also working to get day passes to Scruffy's for mental health groups and senior assisted living centers. So I find myself saying often, Scruffy's is more than a cafe, and I make sure every day that that is true. So, what's in our future? Yes, I'm still going to be a crazy cat lady, that much is true. But currently I'm seeking to turn Scruffy's into a nonprofit so that we can continue building our rescue sanctuary. I want to touch more lives, feline and human, and my dream is this and this alone, to be a wave of change and love that continues to wash over my community. Now, listen, I could talk to you guys the rest of the night, especially if the topic involves cats, but I think that kind of concludes our time together. I certainly would love to have you guys following along in our rescue missions, so feel free to check out our social medias. And if I've touched your heart at all, feel free to shoot me an email. I'd love to partner with you guys. And other than that, Knoxville, I just want to say you rock. Thanks for keeping entrepreneurs and small businesses and makers afloat this past year. You've really kept so many dreams alive, and I'm happy to be a part of it now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're ready. All right, how's everyone doing? Good. Let's get it started. As you can see on the slide, two elements of Knox Brew Stories is a podcast and a YouTube channel. So what could be a better possible way to tell you about it than to show you? Let's record our next episode right now. Welcome to our latest episode of Knox Brew Stories, and thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Zach Roskop, and on today's episode, I'm going to be running through the who, what, why, and how of Knox Brew Stories. And because this is being recorded, and I'm also presenting at Knoxville's PKN Volume 39, today's podcast will be a little short. If you don't know what PKN is, don't worry, I will include it in this week's episode description. Let's dive in. To understand Knox Brew Stories came to be, we need to start in the beginning. In the summer of 2014, after my dreams of becoming a professional musician finally came to an end, I was young, eager, and directionless. With no college degree or personal savings, in a weird way, the direction I could go next was anywhere. I asked myself, "Self, what are you passionate about?" 3 simple things continuously came to mind. I love craft beer, I love the city of Knoxville, and I love people. I feel like I've never met a stranger, and I could pretty much talk to anyone about anything. You'll notice these 3 loves will be wildly present in everything I've done since this realization. In 2014, there were 4 breweries in Knoxville. I knew with certainty that at least 2 were in planning, and this sparked the birth of Knox Brew Tours. My thought process was simple. With a mini bus, a wide variety of tastings, behind-the-scene access, and a few dad jokes, I could pursue my passions of people, Knoxville, and beer. With incredible timing, luck, and persistence, my dream became a reality. From November 28th, 2014 until the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak, we ran 1,500 tours, our fleet grew from 1 to 3 vehicles, and our selection of breweries grew from 3 to 21. Little did I know the groundwork for Knox Brew Stories had already begun. The most valuable asset in the brewing community is relationships, and by dedicating my life and profession to sharing with anyone who would listen the stories of Knoxville beer, my relationship with the breweries was strong. We were working hard every day to grow their brand and their business, and until COVID struck in full force of March of 2020. My elementary school piano teacher said it to my mother best: "Your son doesn't sit still well." She wasn't wrong then, she isn't wrong today. When the coronavirus shuttered the Brew Tour company, temporarily might I add, we are coming back soon. At first, I kayaked a lot, but my mind wandered, and my spirit was missing the pursuit of the aforementioned passions. Every tour we ran began and ended at a craft beer bar in the heart of Knoxville. Our relationship with them was strong too. Not just because of COVID, several other reasons. They chose not to continue their lease. I never thought about opening a craft beer bar, but my lack of having a place to pursue my passions and my ADHD in full force, on August 1st, 2020, I signed a lease to start a craft beer bar downtown. The word hub kept coming up in every way that we planned this bar, so we naturally decided to call it Knox Brew Hub. Simply put, a hub for Knox Brew Tours and a hub for all sorts of things Knoxville beer. The journey began starting a craft beer bar, and I was moved by the overwhelming support the community showed me during this process. One of my dear friends said the sweetest compliment: Knox Brew Tours has been the spirit of Knoxville beer, and now that spirit had a body to live in. For me, it was about and has always been about the people. Those who love to brew, create, and make a difference in the world around them. Those who made Knoxville an even more wonderful place to live. I genuinely believe that the local beer community can have a significantly positive impact on a person's life. So with a tour company and a craft beer bar, what was next? Why not a radio show? I joined up with my friend Kevin Summit in 90.3 FM The Rock and started sharing the stories of Knoxville beer weekly on the radio. It went so well that we expanded the show and rebranded it to this crazy conglomerate we're now calling Knox Brew Stories, a digital space to tell the stories of Knoxville beer and beyond. Let's start with Knox Brew Radio. It's a live radio show that we record every Monday at 6 o'clock at the Hub. It's broadcast on a local internet radio station called Channel Z. The energy of the live radio is essential. We do guided tastings. It's so much fun. Come hang out with us. Then we have what we call Knox Brew TV. We record every show on camera and upload it shortly after. Not only does this create content for our show guests, but it is an additional platform to reach a broader audience. Eventually, we'll be using the YouTube channel as well to show off Knoxville's beer festivals, unique events, craft beer bars, and breweries around town. Next, we have Knox Brew Podcast. Not only can you find a radio recap show on Tuesday mornings of the previous show that we did on Mondays, but we've also started doing Drink and Learns, where we talk about different issues in the brewing community. And our dear friend Gregory Hedrick, aka the Knoxville Beer Mayor, goes out and about with some equipment and records some of the breweries in East Tennessee and the greater area. Lastly, we have Knox Brew Blog, a space for our writers to use the power of written word to document and archive the beer happenings and personalities of our town. Every Monday night, we release a blog title called This Week on Tap, which is a list of every event we can find about beer in Knoxville. And we've started writing blogs such as A Middle Finger to the Mundane, the story of Crafty Bastard Brewery. So what is Knox Brew Stories? It's a place to share, love on, and archive the people, places, and happenings of Knoxville beer. Why does it exist? Because the craft beer community kicks ass, and we think your life might be a little bit better if you knew more about it. How is Knox Brew Stories? Simple. Mics, cameras, keyboards, sound equipment. Lastly, who is Knox Brew Stories? Technically, it's you, but to keep it simple, let me end by introducing you to our team. We have Kevin Summit producing our audio, Asher Coker producing our podcast, Cam Molidor producing our video work, Gregory Hedrick in the field, and Candace Preston co-hosting, curating our blog. This is only the beginning. Once again, my name is Zach Roskop, and thank you for joining us on the latest episode of Knox Brew Stories.
All right. I think you saw 4 things to connect with right there, which remember that. There's a place for you to be involved. So whether it's the Shore Foundation or Scruffy City Cafe, Parking Day, Knox Brew Stories, there's a place for you to be involved. Reach out to them. We are going to take a 15-minute intermission, and then we'll be back with 4 more presentations. Thank you.
Drink this wine from your sweet, from your kiss. I feel your love, I feel your faithful. You're not alone. dancing with your eyes closed. It's okay, it's me, babe. One more time for my tears. Your eyes to your waist. One more time for my taste. Treat this wine from your sweet, from your kiss. Feel your love and feel your faith. See me fall from your eyes to your waist. Feel your love and feel your faith. One more time for my taste. One more time for my. 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 you find out that there ain't no other love, no other love for you.
All right, we are going to go ahead and start our second half here. Thank you all for coming out tonight, making this investment in Knoxville. It's good to see everybody. Thank you for those first 4 presenters. That was awesome. So as we move in here, I want to remind everybody that Marcus Archer from Archer Creative Group created our poster. He did it for free. He did it because he loves it. He loves this event. So Marcus, thank you very much. We are grateful for the poster. And so we have 4 more presenters. We will begin first here with Todd Morgan from Knox Heritage. So everybody buckle up and here we go.
Hi, I'm Todd Morgan. I'm the Executive Director of Knox Heritage. We've been the historic preservation organization for Knoxville since 1974. So our mission is to safeguard places that are beautiful and irreplaceable. And in 2014, we had the good fortune of moving our offices into a historic home that was a gift from the Aslan Foundation. And I've been there 7 years, and it seems like every day I discover something new and wonderful about this place. So tonight I'm here to talk about that and share just a little bit with you, but I hope it will spark your imagination and you'll want to learn even more about Westwood. Knoxville's Westwood is a historic jewel. This beautiful residence debuted in 1890 at the apex of the Gilded Age. It was home to an artist who had a passion for all things beautiful. This is her story and the very special place in the world that she created and called home. So let's step back in time to late 19th century Knoxville and meet Adelia Armstrong. Adelia descended from 2 prominent East Tennessee family lines and exhibited a talent for art at an early age. Her father recognized this talent and thankfully encouraged it. Adelia was given the opportunity to travel and attend highly regarded schools, such as the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts and the Corcoran in Washington, D.C. While at the Corcoran, she replicated famous paintings such as this one by the Dutch artist Bernier. She would copy 5 such paintings during her time there in 1885. She seemed to just possess this ability to connect with the imagination and the inspiration of the original artist. It allowed her to masterfully recreate the complex academic style paintings she loved, such as this painting by the French artist Bouguereau, known as the Little Knitter. Adelia helped transform the Southern art scene by co-founding Knoxville's Nicholson Art League with another woman at a time when women didn't even have the right to vote. She organized exhibits for other female artists and exhibited herself at events throughout the country. She won awards and accolades from New Orleans to Chicago. In fact, in Chicago, she would have personally witnessed the debut of this painting by the French artist Perrault at the 1893 World Columbian Exposition in Chicago. Art from around the world was exhibited at this legendary event, and you're seeing Adelia's masterful copy of his painting depicting St. John. Adelia taught her art to female students at a studio on Market Square. She met her future husband, John Lutz, at that time, and her artistic talents were about to blossom in an entirely new way as they set out to build their own home along Kingston Pike on family land. So the couple joined forces with Bauman Brothers, which were Knoxville's best-known architecture firm, to create Westwood. More than just a home, this brick Queen Anne and Richardsonian Romanesque mansion would become the place where Adelia could pursue her passion and host her fellow artists. Westwood was uniquely designed with an impressive studio space where Adelia could paint and display her creations. It's the grandest room in the house by far, and a newspaper reported from the 1890s noted that there was, quote, no other such room in or about Knoxville. A room in which one who is blessed with a love for the beautiful in nature or in art can get so much genuine enjoyment, so much unalloyed pleasure. This is her studio as it appears today, and it continues to enchant visitors from around the world. Adelia transitioned in a painting more portraits, especially of family members. This is a painting of her son Edwin and his dog. It's entitled Confidence. The Lutzes were a close-knit family, and 5 generations would go on to call Westwood their home. Adelia later became known as a flower painter and was inspired by the gardens at Westwood. Hollyhocks were a particularly favorite subject. The Westwood collection also includes several paintings of roses. She could look out the window of her studio and find instant inspiration for her art. Adelia often expressed her artistic talent in unusual ways, including hand-tinting family photographs like this one, painting book covers. John Ruskin was a favorite author, and even adorning the dining room wainscoting with a delicate bouquet of flowers. Everything at Westwood had to be beautiful. Almost every room featured elaborately painted frescoes on the walls and ceilings. Adelia collaborated on the designs with friend and fellow artist C. Mortimer Thompson. The result was a kaleidoscope of color. Visiting Adelia would have been like walking into a painting. Every main room features a beautiful fireplace and mantel created by the C.B. Atkin Company, a Knoxville business that would become the world's largest producer of hardwood mantels. John and Adelia's son Edwin would actually marry one of Mr. Atkin's daughter, and they would go on to build a house next door to Westwood. Even the door hardware had to meet a high level of design expectations. No detail was too small to consider at Westwood. Everything contributed to a larger whole and was meant to facilitate Adelia's desire to manifest beauty into the world. Today, anyone who visits Westwood can immerse themselves in a world of artistic design expressed through fine art and craftsmanship. For example, this antique slag lamp is one of many on display in the home, and each is its own unique work of art. Lighting was meant to be more than mere illumination. It was another conduit for expressing beauty. Adelia's home would go on to be the cornerstone of a world built on her love for all things beautiful. It would become an epicenter for Knoxville's flourishing artistic social circle of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And that included artists like Catherine Wiley and Lloyd Branson, architect George Barber, and the photographer Joseph Naffel. So Adelia wrote that if we only look for it, we are surrounded by the beautiful always. Cherish it, love it, take it into your hearts, and it will be your very life. Her spirit calls us to slow down and pay closer attention to the world around us. Appreciate the lovely, ponder it, create your own contribution, preserve it so it won't be lost. Really, Westwood and Adelia's story could very well have been lost if not for the vision of the Aslan Foundation, Knox Heritage, and the Calvin C. McClung Historical Collection. It stands today as a powerful testament to the importance of preserving places that are historically and culturally significant, but also beautiful and irreplaceable. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rob Travis. We're ready to do this. My friends have described me as a collector of hobbies. And this past year, thanks to COVID, I added radio station manager to that way too long list of activities. Together with some good friends, we created the streaming radio station Raucous Radio, where we broadcast live daily and encourage everyone to tune in together. My love of radio goes back to my days as a pizza delivery driver. It was the late night radio sets that got me through those long shifts. Eventually, I got to host my own show on the college station, and it's through that experience I began to understand there's something truly special about live radio to create connection. It's not just hearing the DJ's voice, it's part of being the collective experience of listening. 2020 was an incredibly hard year for us all, but extremely hard for me and my tight group of friends. We were still reeling from the sudden passing of a good friend at the end of 2019, and as we headed into 2020, we realized we all needed each other more now than ever. And then the quarantine hit, and we found ourselves isolated almost overnight. I knew that creating community and providing distraction would be an important part of helping folks deal with the isolating circumstances. So, taking a cue from one of my favorite teenage movies, Pump Up the Volume, one late evening, I plugged in a mic, started playing music, and letting them know that they were not alone. and Raucous Radio was born. I needed to talk and express how I was feeling, and spreading positivity and sharing love on the air was incredibly therapeutic. The feedback I received from others proved it was exactly what they needed to hear. I knew artists were especially hard hit by the lockdown, so I quickly moved the streaming from my home setup to a multicast service that included artist licensing. Soon, I got a ton of requests from enthusiastic friends who wanted to share their favorite playlist on the air. Knowing that radio was more than just music, and understanding that not only did people need to hear other voices, but they themselves needed to talk, I encouraged them to record breaks with the Voice Memos app on their phone and send them to me to play along with their playlist. Time during those first few weeks of quarantine seemed to be suspended, and I knew folks would need some sort of a routine to help keep them track. So I moved DJs into regular time slots, and a proper program schedule began to take shape. We often joke that the only way we could keep track of time in those early months was knowing which DJ was on the air. What day is it? I don't know. Who's on the air? Initially, much like the quarantine, we thought the station would only last for a couple of weeks, but everyone's enthusiasm and the community we had built around the station proved to be way too necessary for us all. We had an active message thread discussing the station, and it became the distraction for us all to combat the insecurity. It was a better way of connecting than those random, are you doing okay, check-ins? The first few weeks were laborious. I was getting breaks via messages and email, manually inserting them into playlists, and triggering everything to play myself. The station had become a second full-time job. Keeping the station going had become the thing that was keeping me going, but I knew that I had to take steps to automate the process. Hey, if you know me, you know I'm a huge Mac nerd and a bit of a tech hoarder, so I took a spare Mac, installed the streaming software, set up a Dropbox share for the DJs to sync their breaks, and wrote some scripts to fire off the playlist automatically. It all worked, but I knew that we were still missing that live radio connection. So I gathered up what spare old laptops and mics I had, set them up to broadcast live, and thoroughly wiped them down with sanitizer, and delivered them to DJs, encouraging them to go live for themselves. Much to my wife's chagrin, my tech hoarding dysfunction had finally proved to be super useful. They called me the station manager, but Raucous Radio was way more than just me. None of this would be possible without the weekly contributions of all the DJs. Raucous Radio has been going strong for over a year now, and without everyone's help and support and enthusiasm, I would have abandoned the project a long time ago. The streaming and licensing costs are expensive, but through the support of our listeners and sponsors, Raucous Radio is totally self-sustaining. We figured it would be hard to compete with on-demand streaming services, but we've had a strong and consistent following from the get-go. We've all agreed not to care too much about the analytics. It doesn't matter if there's 1 or 1,000 people listening. We're doing this for ourselves, and we're just glad if anybody's tuning in and listening along with us. We have listeners from around the world, and it's fun to see the listeners light up on the map and try to pinpoint the connection to the station. We have one regular listener from the middle of rural Kansas, and nobody knows who they are or their connection to the station. But when they tune in, we all get excited. Hey, Kansas, if you're out there listening tonight, this one's for you. Through everyone's different music tastes, we have a truly eclectic weekly mix of human-curated specialty programs featuring everything from indie rock to R&B, hip-hop to honky-tonk, EDM to blues, and everything in between. Raucous Radio has been an incredible experience of music discovery for us all, but it's not without controversy. There's an ongoing disagreement about whether or not Nirvana can be considered classic rock now. On Saturday mornings, I host the Beatles Brunch, and I've learned so much about the Fab Four over the past year. The Beatles Brunch has a loyal following, including many boomers, and it's always funny to see the listeners drop off when I take the occasional break to feature other artists I love. Let's just say the Cure Brunch didn't bring in the numbers that the Beatles usually does. We have some really fun specialty shows along the way. July 4th weekend, we featured the Top 20 DJ's Choice Countdown, and we had a live call-in and request show called The Rock Line. A few weeks ago, we celebrated our 1-year anniversary with a live remote and socially distanced outdoor party. It was the first time some of our DJs had ever met, and everyone enjoyed seeing folks in person for the first time in a year. While the kids were home during the early quarantine, every afternoon we gave them the chance to sit in the air chair and play their favorite music during the Raucous Kids Radio Takeover. As fun as it was seeing the early DJ talent blossoming, we quickly realized our kids have terrible taste in music. And the hardest thing I've had to do as station manager is fire my own kids. It's been a ton of work for us all, but we all agree we've gotten more of it than we put in. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. And Raucous Radio became the campfire that we all gathered around for warmth during an extremely cold year. And I think we all agree we would not have survived 2020 without it. You know, John Lennon said, "A dream you dream alone is just a dream. A dream you dream together is a reality." And for me, a radio station was a lifelong dream. And with a little help from my friends, we made it a reality for ourselves and for anyone else who wants to listen along with us. I hope you all join the Raucous Radio family and tune in together and sharing the love online at raucous.com. Thank you very much.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian. How about that vegan Reuben sandwich? Anybody else eating that? That was delicious. All right, shout out to my gang, the Brussels sprout boys. Let's do this. Growing up, my parents were both educators, and they had a dream for me, and it was to go to college, get a degree, and a nice cushy job where I'd spend the rest of my days. That idea seemed like absolute torture to me, so I did what any kid would do, and I dropped out of college and became a body piercer. Now, my parents, as you can imagine, they were not thrilled about this at all, and it really caused some ruffles in our relationship. I'm very sure that they were worried that I was going to end up looking like this human tackle box right here. But that couldn't be any further from the truth. I mean, look at this face, right? It's awesome. In 2002, I landed an apprenticeship, and that's where you learn to do a craft, and I learned how to be a body piercer. It was less glamorous than I expected it to be, and I got very skilled in the custodial arts. So I cleaned a lot, but thanks to some guidance and a lot of reading the internet, I completed my apprenticeship, and I got to work in my dream job, poking holes in people all day. So that was pretty cool. In 2008, I was offered a position at a seemingly amazing studio in Chicago, Illinois. I was really excited about moving to the big city, the new adventures, new ways of life. I was moving on up, and unfortunately 2000 year was also the big recession that we had, and business wasn't great. I ended up not enjoying my workplace, and I wanted some change. So my girlfriend and I did some research online, and we wanted mountains, trees, grass, and Knoxville kept coming up. One day she got a job offer in Knoxville, and it took us like no thinking at all to pack up all of our shit and move south. So we ended up here in Knoxville. And I wanted to work in a really nice high-end studio that was super classy. Instead, all I found was what looked like at the bottom there, super cluttered, not really my jam. And that top picture is actually my studio. I'm real proud of it, so take a look. Woo! All right, so I wanted to change the way that people thought about body art, make it less taboo, make it something more socially acceptable. I found out that I had to write a business plan, so through a ton of kicking and screaming, I wrote that up, and I was super excited. I was like, I'm gonna go to the banks, they're gonna shower me with money, I'm gonna rent this location, it's gonna be the coolest thing ever. And turns out banks don't care about piercing and tattoo studios. They weren't giving out small business loans and kind of gave me the finger. So I did what any smart person would do, and I maxed out a bunch of credit cards. I sold off some belongings, I sold my dignity, I scrounged out enough money to negotiate a lease with a slumlord because nobody wanted to rent to a tattoo studio, and I painted 2,500 square feet in the dark because I didn't have money to turn the utilities on. But eventually, Born This Way got opened in 2011, and that was really awesome. So my dream was coming to light. I was super excited. I had all this debt to pay off, and honestly, I had no fucking clue how to run a business. How do I hire people? How do I run this? How do I manage people? How do I manage artists that don't want to be managed? So I put my ass to work, and I worked 7 days a week, 80 hours a week. I loved it. I hired people, I fired people, I succeeded, I fucked up a lot, but most importantly, I learned a lot along the way. And it paid off. It kept growing year after year and after year, and people loved it. We gained the hearts of our clients, we got global recognition, and in under 2 years, I was able to pay off all the debt. Because I'm a glutton for punishment and piercing wasn't enough, I learned how to tattoo, but I didn't use a tattoo machine. I learned the art of tabori tattooing, which is all just done with a needle in your hand moving everything, and there's some images of some stuff I did. Eventually I found myself tattooing full-time, quit piercing, and when I was at home, I was learning how to make jewelry. So gold jewelry was something that I dabbled in, and we were eventually able to carry it in our studio, and we can cut out the middleman, so ups our profit margin a little bit, and that's pretty cool too. But it's awesome to see people wearing stuff that you make. Because I made jewelry, I couldn't stop there. I had to offer it to everybody else. So I made a separate company called Jewelry This Way. And Jewelry This Way is now its own separate entity. We wholesale high-end gold body jewelry to studios all over the world. It's been very well received. We're in our 3rd year of business and on track to do $1 million in sales this year. So I'm stoked about that. Our 9-year lease came to an end, and the banks finally liked me, and they showed me by showering me with tremendous debt, and I was able to purchase a permanent home for Born This Way. It took us a full year to do a gut remodel with tons of setbacks and more crap than I want to remember, but eventually we got it open, and that was super cool. Oh no, I didn't get in a wreck. That was actually inside my brain. So a lot of depression, crippling anxiety, ADHD, a divorce, you name it, I was dealing with it. I hit major walls. There was a wreck in my brain. I wanted to give up, but I have a lot of other people whose livelihoods depend on me keeping my shit together. So you have to admit when you need help. It took a lot of work, and it's a bit of a struggle someday, but thanks to a huge support group of people like my staff, business partner, friends, therapists, life coach, pharmaceuticals, natural remedies, accountants, all those good people, I'm feeling way better today. So that's why I'm here, right? Last year, you guys remember this crazy shit. It happened. They shut us down for 2 months like the city did. Who plans on that, man? We'd gone strong almost 10 years, and we had to close, and that was wild. But we could either let it get us down or we can roll with the punches. So we reformulated our business plans and the way we operate, and we came back stronger than ever. These days, making jewelry is my full-time gig. I don't pierce or tattoo anymore, but I have lots of people that work underneath me that are amazing at that. Jewelry This Way hired its first employee. I've been busy training him, and I also make goofy art on the side at horribledecor.com. That's not safe for work. All right. Born This Way just celebrated its 10th anniversary last week, and we're busier than ever. We employ 12 people. We generate about $1.2 million a year in sales, and I cannot believe what my rebel industry has grown into. Young me knew that I could make a career out of poking holes in nostrils and dicks, but I had no idea that anything like this could ever happen. So what does the future hold? Born This Way is going to keep doing what it's doing and thriving. Jewelry This Way is going to grow. I'm going to make more art, and I'm going to keep growing, learning, and evolving, and going on life's journey and making the best of it. So thank you guys very much for listening. I really appreciate your time.
Hello, I'm Steve Sansoni. I'm the owner of Double S Wine Bar. Made these notes and I just want to toss them, but I need them. Let's go. Okay. I moved here from Napa to Knoxville, and finding my passion through connection pretty much is what I'm going to say today. I had my 21st birthday in the Marine Corps. Didn't say nothing. Finished specialized training and got into the fleet, met all these people from around the world, the United States, and worked with the Afghan Army, Iraqi Army, Australian Army, Korean Army, and all these different places, and got exposed. And I liked it. War is not all about killing and fighting. I had my guard up on the plane, and when I got off the plane, I was welcomed, and got through the icebreaker with a lot of humor and practical jokes. And connected like with our world, with their worlds, with a lot of humor, and in the Middle East. On my way out, I found my first passion. Met a girl who liked wine. I first come back from Afghanistan. we're drinking 100 proof vodka before we black out. And I was like, she asked me to get her a bottle of wine. I called my mom. I was like, hey, Mom, what do I get? So I get a bottle of Merlot. Went down the store, got a bottle of Merlot, took it on the beach, popped it open. I was like, I like this stuff. Started drinking 2-3 bottles a night after that. Got some of the guys, put down the vodka and have a glass of wine with me. And decided this was the industry I wanted to get into. Started doing some online classes, some readings, stuff like that. When I came back from Iraq, I put pencil to paper, built a business called Sansoni's Fine Wine Gallery. The bank's like, thank you for coming, but no, we're not interested, thank you, come again. So I did a little research and hit the ground running. Became a certified sommelier. Went to New Zealand, learned more about wine. I came back, connected with a lot of people, and I knew exactly where I needed to be. In New Zealand, I was pretty much learning more international experience and building the experience to open up a wine bar. And I had a little, I'd say a life experience. I mean, I've gone through gunfights, stuff like that, but it took me working the winery where we're doing all these samplings and we close up the winery and we have the CO2 covering the place. And I'm looking at the gal, I was like, hey, go get the CO2 meter and tell me where it's at. And like, it was like 0.002 was like, you need to get the hell out of the building. It was like 0.05. I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here. We're running and get out of the building. We're huffing and puffing. And we're like, holy shit, we could have been dead, like right in the middle of this. Made me realize I really love this wine. I make it back to Napa and I started working for a winery. I was working in the back of the house, now I'm working in front of the house. I worked for this wine, Cosentino, and they brought me to more of working with people and educating, and I loved it. I'm a little behind now. So I found another passion called tango, and I met this other girl who liked tango. It was like on our second, third date, and I was like, when I see you again, it's like, you can see me tomorrow if you'd like to do tango. And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I go there and I get exposed to the tango community, and I fell in love. And I would bring wine from Napa to this tango studio, and I would trade classes. I would bring the tango community to the winery, and we did events, we do wine tastings, and I went to Argentina with like 15 tangoers, and they all stayed at one place. I stayed at multiple different places because I really wanted a deeper connection with the tango and with wine. I actually got a tattoo there for my first Malanga there. Sorry, this is pretty quick. Then found another girl that was coming out to Knoxville, and she asked me to come out here. And I said, okay. I flew out here, fell in love with Knoxville, felt like home coming off the plane. And I had to decide what I was going to do for money. I was like, I'm going to bring what I know from Napa to Knoxville and open up a wine bar. And so, sorry. Want to see me do a cartwheel? Open up a winery, double S, my initials. Creating a safe place with no judgment. Thank you. Sorry.
Hey, Steven, thank you for the cartwheel. It was awesome. That was awesome. Hey, want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Those are our 8 presenters. It is so good to be close to back. So I am excited about this. I'm excited that we're together in this room, in this great cultural space, talking about these cultural ideas. And again, you saw a lot of things tonight. Find something you care about, dig into it. And we will be back in August, hopefully in a different way than we're back now. So thank you for coming out. Oh, and by the way, 2 things, I'm sorry. I have been reprimanded because I forgot to ask for donations. So Pachakacha, we make no money. We don't charge at the door. We ask for donations. You pay $10 per person to be here tonight, which was fantastic. There's a little QR code, which again, I thought was a fax machine, but it is a QR code. If you want to make a donation for help us with cleaning fees, posters, any of that, it's right in front of you. So please do that. Also, the Mill and Mine / Taco Taco said they'll be open till 9 o'clock. If you want to stick around and have a drink, have some more food, please enjoy your pod, and let's do this again. Thank you all. Good night.